Captain Vecthara felt uneasy as his ship approached the third planet from the yellow star. The navigation charts called it Earth, home to a species the Galactic Council had marked as primitive and quarantined 200 years ago. His mission was simple: conduct a mineral survey of the outer planets and avoid contact with the humans below. But something was wrong. The sensors showed nothing. No radio signals. No heat signatures from cities. No satellites in orbit. The planet was silent. Run another scan. Vecthara ordered his crew. Check for equipment malfunction. The sensor operator, a young Malthurian named Krev, shook his head. Sir, the systems are working perfectly. There's just nothing there. No electromagnetic emissions at all. Vecthara stared at the blue and green planet on his view screen. It looked beautiful and alive, but his instruments told a different story. Where were the billions of humans that should be down there? Take us into orbit, he commanded. We need to investigate. The ship descended through Earth's atmosphere. Below them, massive structures rose from the ground, but they were covered in plants and vines. Trees grew through broken windows. Rivers flowed through what were once streets. Nature had reclaimed everything. They landed in what the old records called Sol. The city stretched for kilometers in every direction, but it was empty. Buildings stood like silent giants, their walls cracked and weathered. Vehicles sat abandoned on roads that had become forests. Everything was old, very old. Vecthara's exploration team spread out through the dead city. Their archaeological equipment analyzed the decay and gave them a number that seemed impossible. The humans had left this place approximately 450,000 years ago. That cannot be correct, Vecthara said. Check the calibration. But the equipment was right. They found the same results in Tokyo, London, New York, and every other human city they visited. Humanity had vanished nearly 500,000 years ago, and they had left no clue about where they went, or why the Galactic Council was confused. They sent research teams to every human settlement in the solar system. The colonies on Mars were abandoned. The mining stations on the asteroids were empty. The lunar bases showed no signs of life. Everywhere they looked, they found the same thing. Humans had simply disappeared all at the same time. There were no bodies. No signs of war or disease. No distress signals in any database. It was as if humanity decided to leave and took everything with them except their buildings and machines. Over the following years, Earth became a mystery that scientists loved to debate. Some believed the humans had developed faster than light travel and left to find new worlds. Others thought a plague had killed them all, and nature had hidden the evidence. A few even suggested the humans had been taken by some unknown force, but as decades passed, the galaxy lost interest. The mystery of humanity became just another footnote in the vast history of the cosmos. Life moved on. 450,000 years went by. The galaxy changed in ways that would have shocked Captain Vecthara. The Malthurian collective grew powerful and conquered many worlds. They built empires while other species either served them or stayed out of their way. The Sol system, as humans had called it, became valuable to the Malthurians. They built military bases around the outer planets. They established shipyards in the asteroid belt. And Earth, beautiful empty Earth, became a vacation world for wealthy Malthurian families who built estates in the old, human cities. Humanity was remembered only by historians and archaeologists. Children learned about them in school as the species that disappeared before joining the galactic community. Some people visited Earth to see the ancient human ruins. Walking through museums that displayed primitive human tools and artwork, nobody expected the humans to come back. Commander, Vex was patrolling near Neptune when his sensors detected something unusual. Space itself seemed to be tearing open, creating a massive distortion that hurt to look at. His training told him to retreat and call for reinforcements, but curiosity made him wait. Something emerged from the distortion. It was a ship, but unlike anything in the galactic databases. The hull was perfect black, absorbing all light that touched it. No sensors could penetrate its surface. It was large, perhaps 3 kilometers long, with a shape that seemed to shift and change as Vex watched it. Unidentified vessel. This is Nauthurian patrol ship Northern Wind. Identify yourself immediately, or we will open fire. There was no response. The black ship just hung in space, completely still. Vex ordered his fleet to surround the intruder. 12 warships moved into position, their weapons charged and ready. They were the pride of the Malthurian Navy, equipped with the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Final warning, Vex broadcast. Identify yourself, or the black ship moved. It was so fast that Vex barely saw it happen. One moment it was surrounded, the next moment it was somewhere else. Beams of light, or something like light, shot from its hull. But these were not normal weapons. The beams passed through the shields of Vex's ships as if the shields were not there. They cut through the armored hulls like they were paper. One by one, the warships exploded or simply stopped working. Electronics died. Power cores went cold. In less than 40 seconds, 11 ships were destroyed or disabled. Vex's own ship was dying around him. Life support was failing. The engines were dead. He watched in horror as the black ship turned toward him. He was certain he was about to die, but the ship did not fire. Instead, it transmitted a message. The voice spoke in languages that had not been heard in 450,000 years. Languages that only historians remembered. Human languages. "We have returned," the voice said in a dozen different tongues. "Leave our worlds or burn." Then the black ship vanished, folding back into whatever impossible space it had come from. Vex floated in his dying ship, surrounded by debris, and felt fear like he had never known before. The humans had come home, and they were not happy about what they found. The Malthurian High Command did not believe the reports at first. Humans returning after 450,000 years seemed impossible. They thought it was a trick, maybe another species using stolen human records to frighten them. But 3 days later, something happened that made them believe. The Mars garrison went silent. 20,000 soldiers and support staff stopped responding to communications. When reinforcement ships arrived, they found the base destroyed. Every building was cut in half by weapons that left no burn marks, no explosive damage. The structures were simply separated, as if reality itself had been sliced apart. Security footage showed the attack. Ships appeared from nowhere, their shapes wrong in ways that made viewers feel sick. They did not fly like normal spacecraft. They moved in directions that should not exist, appearing in multiple places at once. The garrison's weapons fired uselessly as the strange ships tore through defenses like they were not there. Then the ships vanished, leaving only destruction behind. Far from the Malthurian Empire, in a place between dimensions. Fleet Admiral Daihayan watched tactical displays on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil. He was an old man now, though he looked perhaps 50 years old. His eyes carried a weight that came from seeing too much, living too long, fighting too hard. "Target destroyed, Admiral," reported Captain Hyan Wu from the tactical station. "No survivors. The message will be clear." Daihayan nodded slowly. He felt no joy in the destruction, only tired satisfaction that the plan was working. Around him, the bridge crew operated stations that controlled technology the rest of the galaxy could not even imagine. "How long until the next strike?" Daihayan asked. 6 hours, sir. Commander Sung Min's squadron will hit their supply depot in the outer belt." Daihayan closed his eyes briefly. Even after everything, even after 450,000 years, killing still bothered him. But what choice did they have? The aliens had taken Earth. They had turned humanity's home into a vacation resort. That could not stand. "Proceed with the operation," he said. Lieutenant Jae-hee approached from the intelligence section. She was young, barely 30, born during the war in the pocket dimension. She had never seen Earth before the fleet returned. "Admiral, we have completed mapping the enemy command structure. We can access their communication networks whenever needed." "Good work, Lieutenant. Begin Phase 2. I want to know everything about the galaxy we return to." Science Director Yoon-ji joined them, her tablet displaying complex equations. "Admiral, I have the analysis you requested. The time dilation effects were more extreme than we calculated. We experienced approximately 200 years subjectively, but 450,000 years passed in normal space." They Hyan had known this already, but hearing it confirmed still felt strange. To him and the 10 billion humans aboard the fleet, the war had lasted 2 centuries. Long enough, certainly. Long enough to change everything about who they were. But to the universe outside, humanity had been gone for almost 500,000 years. He remembered the day it all began. The year 2573, when Earth's deep space sensors detected something approaching from beyond the galaxy. The scientists called them devourers because they consumed everything they touched. Not just matter, but space and time and reality itself. Physicist Commander Ji Woo had led the emergency research team. She discovered that the devourers existed in a dimensional substrate beneath normal space, and they were coming to eat the galaxy. Conventional weapons could not touch them. Conventional physics could not explain them. But Ji Woo found a way to fight back. She designed vessels that could enter the same dimensional substrate where the devourers lived. Ships that could bend reality, manipulate time, and exist in multiple places at once. The technology required humanity to leave normal space entirely and conduct the war from inside pocket dimension. So humanity evacuated. 10 billion people, everyone they could save, boarded 50,000 ships and vanished from the normal universe. They left everything behind except what they could carry. And then they fought. The war lasted 200 years from humanity's perspective. 200 years of constant battle against enemies that ate stars and drank nebulae. 200 years of losing ships and people and hope. But slowly, painfully, humanity learned to fight back. They developed weapons that could hurt the devourers. They mastered technologies that made them into something more than they had been. And finally, after sacrificing so much, they won. The last devourer died in the depths of twisted space, and humanity was free to go home. Except home had been taken by strangers. "Admiral," Captain Hyan Woo said, breaking Dae-Hyan's thoughts. "The Malthurians are mobilizing their fleets. Intelligence suggests they are planning a major offensive against us." "Let them come," Dae-Hyan replied. "They cannot imagine what we have become." He was right. The Malthurians had spent 450,000 years advancing their technology through conventional means. They had better ships than they did in the past, stronger weapons, faster engines. But they still thought in 3 dimensions. They still believed in the limitations of normal physics. Humanity had gone beyond such limitations. Engineer Bo-Ora's team had designed weapons that broke causality itself. Bombs that made events unhappen. Missiles that aged targets thousands of years in seconds. Reality anchors that prevented faster than light travel by making space-time too thick to fold. And the ships themselves were miracles of impossible engineering. They could phase through solid matter, exist in multiple timelines simultaneously, and travel through dimensions that had no names in any language. Commander Sung-min led a raid on a supply depot. His squadron of 5 ships faced a defense force of 40 vessels. The battle lasted 3 minutes. Sung-min's ships appeared inside the enemy formation, having bypassed all the defensive perimeters by traveling through a dimension slightly adjacent to normal space. Their weapons fired, and the enemy ships simply stopped existing. Erased from the timeline, the supply depot collapsed into a dimensional fold and vanished. Sung Min's squadron returned to the fleet without a single casualty. News of the attacks spread through the galaxy. Fear grew among the Malthurian population. Their leaders assured them that the military would handle the situation, that these mysterious humans were just using tricks and could be defeated in a fair fight. But there would be no fair fight. Humanity had learned in the hardest way possible that survival mattered more than honor, that victory justified any method, that the strong survived and the weak perished. After 30 days of raids and attacks, Admiral De Hayan sent a message to all galactic civilizations. His face appeared on every communication screen, speaking calmly but firmly. "I am Fleet Admiral De Hayan of the Human Defense Fleet. We are the species you call the Lost Ones. We did not disappear. We fought a war that lasted 450,000 of your years to protect this galaxy from a threat you never knew existed. We saved you, and when we returned home, we found you had taken our worlds." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You have 90 days to evacuate all human planets and remove your structures from our system. If you comply, we will share our technology and help protect the galaxy from future threats. If you refuse, we will take back what is ours by force. Choose wisely." The Malthurian High Command laughed when they saw the message. 90 days? This small human fleet thought it could dictate terms to an empire? They had 10,000 warships ready to deploy. They would crush these upstart humans and remind the galaxy who ruled. They prepared their grand fleet for the assault on Earth, confident in their numbers and firepower. They did not know that the 5,000 human ships they had detected were just a small fraction of humanity's true strength. They did not know about the automated shipyards hidden in dimensional pockets, building drones and weapons platforms by the millions. The Malthurians were about to learn a hard lesson. They were about to discover what 450,000 years of evolution through constant warfare had created. They were about to face humanity at its most dangerous. The Malthurian Grand Fleet gathered at the edge of the Sol system. 3,000 warships, the largest military force assembled in 5,000 years. Supreme Commander Valth stood on the bridge of the flagship Dominion, watching his armada prepare for battle. He felt proud and confident. These humans, whoever they really were, would learn to respect Malthurian power. "All ships report ready, Supreme Commander," his tactical officer announced. "Excellent. Begin the advance. We will crush them at their homeworld and end this foolishness." The fleet moved toward Earth in perfect formation, a wall of steel and firepower that stretched across space. Their sensors detected the human fleet waiting near the moon. Only about 2,000 ships, Valth noted. The humans were outnumbered and would be destroyed. What Valth did not know was that he had already lost. Aboard the Eternal Vigil, Admiral De Hayan watched the Malthurian fleet approach. Around Earth and throughout the inner system, thousands of dimensional gates were opening. Through them came weapons platforms, drone ships, and defensive systems that had been built in the pocket dimension over the past weeks. "They still think in 3 dimensions, observed Science Director Yoon Ji. "They cannot conceive of what we will do. I almost pity them," De Hayan said quietly. Then he gave the order. "All units, execute Operation Homecoming." The Battle of Terra began not with human ships advancing, but with space itself attacking the Malthurians. Reality anchors activated throughout the system, making faster-than-light travel impossible. The Malthurian fleet suddenly found itself trapped. Unable to jump away or call for reinforcements through hyperspace, and the real horror started. Human ships did not emerge from behind the moon, or accelerate from the outer system. They appeared inside the Maltherian formation, having traveled through dimensional angles that normal physics said did not exist. One moment the space was empty, the next moment a human destroyer was there, its weapons already firing. The weapons themselves were nightmares. Beams of twisted light that ignored shields and armor, passing through them as if they were illusions. These beams did not burn or explode their targets. They simply made the targets stop existing in this timeline, erasing them from the present moment. Causality bombs detonated among the Malthurian ranks. These weapons worked backwards through time, making the last 30 seconds unhappen for their targets. Ships that had been firing their weapons suddenly found themselves returned to a moment before they fired, but with their power cores depleted and their crews disoriented. By the time they understood what happened, they were already destroyed by conventional weapons. Entropy missiles aged their target centuries and seconds. Mighty warships that had been built last year suddenly became ancient wrecks, their hulls corroded. Their systems failed from age. It happened in an instant. Supreme Commander Valth watched in horror as his fleet died around him. His ships could not target the human vessels effectively. The humans moved in impossible ways, appearing and disappearing, existing in multiple locations simultaneously. When his weapons did hit them, the beams and missiles seemed to pass through the human ships without causing damage. How are they doing this? Valth shouted at his science officer. Sir, they are phasing between dimensions. They exist slightly outside our reality. Our weapons cannot touch them unless they choose to become solid, and they only do that for microseconds when they fire. A human cruiser appeared directly in front of the Dominion. Valth had time to see its weapons ports open before reality twisted around his flagship. The Dominion did not explode. It simply folded in on itself, compressed into a space smaller than an atom, and vanished. Valth and his entire crew were gone, crushed by forces that normal science could not explain. The battle lasted 18 hours. 3,000 Malthurian warships fought desperately against an enemy they could not understand. Human losses were minimal, only 47 ships destroyed, and most of those were automated drones. When it ended, the Malthurian fleet was gone. 2,400 ships destroyed outright, 600 disabled and drifting. The survivors, barely 100 vessels, retreated in panic, broadcasting desperate warnings to anyone who would listen. But not everyone in the human fleet celebrated the victory. Medical Officer Taeyang stood in the conference room of the Eternal Vigil, facing Admiral De Hyan and the senior command staff. His face showed anger and disgust. We used the causality eraser, Taeyang said, his voice shaking. Do you understand what that means? We did not just kill those crews. We erased them from ever having existed. Their families do not remember them. The universe itself has been changed so that they were never born. It was necessary, replied Commander Yoongji coldly. The Malthurians needed to understand the futility of resistance. We fought the Devourers to preserve life and reality, Taeyang continued. And now we are breaking reality ourselves. We are becoming the monsters we fought against. Admiral De Hyan listened to both sides. He felt the weight of command crushing him. Taeyang was right about the horror of the weapons they used. But Yoongji was also right about the necessity. The galaxy had to understand that humanity would not be victims again. Dr. Taeyang, De Hyan said finally, I understand your concerns. They trouble me as well. But we gave them a chance to leave peacefully. They chose war. We ended it quickly to minimize suffering. By maximizing horror instead, Taeyang replied bitterly. There are lines we should not cross, even in war. There are no lines in survival, said Captain Hyan Wu. Only winners and losers. The Malthurians colonized our homeworld. They turned Earth into a resort while we fought to save the galaxy. They deserve no mercy. The debate continued for hours. The command staff was divided. Some agreed with Taeyang that they had gone too far. Others believed that overwhelming force would prevent future conflicts and actually save lives. Throughout the galaxy, news of the Terra massacre spread. Every civilization with communication technology heard about how humanity had destroyed the mighty Malthurian fleet. They heard about weapons that broke the laws of physics and ships that moved through impossible dimensions. Fear spread like a virus. Minor civilizations began broadcasting immediate surrender offers to the humans, promising to evacuate any system humanity claimed. Trade routes near Sol were abandoned. Merchant ships refused to go anywhere near human space, but some refused to submit. Ambassador Thalreth of the Malthurian Collective had escaped the battle by sheer luck. Her diplomatic ship had been at the edge of the system when the fighting started. She watched the fleet die and saw humanity's true power, and she was terrified. She contacted other species, building a coalition united by fear. The Crevalian Concordat, the Nephro Swarm, and remnants of Malthurian forces joined her. They called themselves the Galactic Defense Alliance, though everyone knew it was really an alliance against humanity. Thalrith gave speeches warning of the human threat. She showed footage of the causality weapons, of ships being erased from existence, of reality being broken by human technology. They claimed they fought to save the galaxy, she told the assembled representatives. But look at their weapons. Look at what they have become. They are not saviors. They are a threat worse than anything we have faced. If we do not stop them now, they will dominate us all. Her words found support among those who feared humanity's power. The coalition began planning a desperate counterattack. They could not defeat the human fleet in direct battle. That much was clear. But they had another option. They would destroy Earth itself, make the Sol system uninhabitable, force humanity to abandon their crusade or watch their precious homeworld die. It was genocide. But Thalrith had convinced herself it was necessary. She had seen what humanity had become during their long war. They were no longer the species that had disappeared 450,000 years ago. They were something alien, something dangerous, something that had to be stopped at any cost. The coalition gathered its forces and prepared reality-piercing weapons capable of destroying a planet. They planned to strike quickly, before humanity could stop them. But they had forgotten something important. Humanity had spent 450,000 years fighting enemies far more dangerous than them. Enemies that consumed reality itself. Human intelligence networks were far beyond anything the galaxy had ever developed. Lieutenant Ji He intercepted the coalition's plans. Every communication, every meeting, every weapon deployment. The humans knew everything. Admiral Daehyun called an emergency meeting. The choice before him was terrible. If they evacuated Earth, they would lose their moral claim to it. If they stayed and defended it conventionally, they might lose everything to a desperate enemy. There was a third option, but it was almost as terrible as the coalition's plan. We demonstrate ultimate power, Daehyun said finally. Once, to end this permanently, we show them a weapon so terrible that no one will dare threaten us again. He authorized deployment of the Dimensional Cascade, a weapon that could fold an entire star system into a pocket dimension, making it completely inaccessible for thousands of years. Not destruction, but removal from reality. The target would not be the coalition's homeworlds. Daehyun was not a monster. Instead, they would collapse an empty system near coalition space. A demonstration of capability without genocide. The coalition fleet gathered at the edge of the Void's Edge system, an empty region of space with a small red star and no inhabited planets. They did not know the humans were already there, watching from dimensions that normal sensors could not detect. Ambassador Thalreth stood on the bridge of the coalition flagship Unity. Around her, representatives from a dozen species prepared for what they believed would be a decisive strike against Earth. Their reality-piercing weapons were charged and ready, capable of tearing through dimensional barriers to hit targets anywhere in the galaxy. "All ships report ready," announced the Crevalian weapons officer. "We can fire on Earth from here. The humans will not be able to stop the attack in time." Thalrith felt sick. She was about to order the deaths of billions of humans living on and around Earth, but she had convinced herself it was necessary. Humanity's weapons were too dangerous. If they were not stopped now, they would eventually destroy everything. "Target Earth," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Prepare to fire on my command." Before she could give the order, space itself screamed. The human fleet materialized around the coalition forces. Not behind them or beside them, but literally around them, ships appearing in positions that should have been occupied by coalition vessels. The humans had positioned themselves so precisely that their ships phased into existence in the gaps between the coalition formation. Admiral Daehyon's face appeared on every view screen in the coalition fleet. He looked tired and sad, not angry or triumphant. "I know what you planned," he said. "I know you are going to destroy Earth. I understand your fear, but I cannot allow it. You have forced me to show you something that will haunt your species for generations. I am sorry." Engineer Bu-Ora worked at her station aboard the Eternal Vigil, hands moving across controls that manipulated forces beyond normal understanding. The dimensional cascade generator was fully charged, its power core containing energy harvested from the pocket dimension where humanity had fought the Devourers. "System targeted," Bu-Ora reported. "Void's Edge system, 0 inhabited planets, minimal gravitational effects on neighboring systems. All coalition ships retreat immediately," Daehyon broadcast. "Leave this system now. You have 60 seconds. Some coalition ships began moving, but most stayed. Their commanders thought it was a bluff. What weapon could threaten an entire star system? They were about to learn dot at 0 seconds. Bu-Ora activated the dimensional cascade. The effect started at the star itself. Reality began to fold, layers of space-time collapsing inward like paper being crumpled. The star did not explode or collapse into a black hole. It simply started to disappear, fading from existence as it was pushed into a pocket dimension dot. The effect spread outward at the speed of light. Planets vanished as the cascade reached them. The fabric of space twisted and folded, dimensions overlapping and compressing. The coalition ships that had not retreated found themselves caught in the effect. From outside the system, it looked like reality was being erased. The star dimmed and vanished. The planets disappeared one by one. Space itself seemed to ripple and fold inward, leaving behind a gravitational scar where the system had been. The entire process took 17 minutes. When it ended, the Void's Edge system was gone. Not destroyed, but removed from accessible spacetime. It still existed somewhere, in a pocket dimension, where it would remain for thousands of years until the effect naturally decayed. 800 coalition ships had escaped. They retreated in complete disorder, broadcasting panicked messages to their homeworlds. The galaxy watched in horror as humanity demonstrated a weapon that could make star systems simply cease to exist. Thalrith sat on the floor of her ship's bridge, shaking. She had seen many terrible things in her long life, but nothing like this. Humanity could make entire civilizations vanish with a single weapon. No defense could stop it. No amount of ships or weapons could prevent it. They had lost before the battle even began. "Admiral," Daehyon broadcast one final message to the galaxy. His face appeared on every communication network, every news broadcast, every government channel. "This is the weapon we used to kill the Devourers," he said quietly. "We can remove star systems from reality. We can make whole worlds vanish, erasing them so completely that in 10,000 years, no one will remember they existed. But we will not do this. We do not want to be conquerors or destroyers. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. We want only what was taken from us. Our homeworld, our system, the places where our ancestors lived and died. We will use our power to defend ourselves and to protect the galaxy from threats like the Devourers. But we will not become tyrants. The choice is yours. Choose peace or choose to disappear. A message ended. Across the galaxy, leaders of every major civilization held emergency meetings. Some argued for continued resistance, but they were shouted down by more practical voices. Humanity had just demonstrated that they could erase civilizations. Fighting them was suicide. Within days, Ambassador Thalrith contacted the human fleet. She requested negotiations, meeting at a neutral station in unclaimed space. Her ship arrived to find Admiral Daehyun waiting with diplomat representative Min Seo, a young woman who had been trained specifically for this moment. The negotiations were tense. Thalrith and her fellow ambassadors sat across from the human delegation, both sides exhausted and fearful in different ways. Your weapons violate every principle of galactic law, Thalrith began. Reality itself has rights. You cannot simply erase star systems because it is convenient. Min Seo responded calmly but firmly. Galactic law also says that civilizations have rights to their homeworlds. You violated that law when you colonized Earth during our absence. You turned our most sacred places into vacation resorts. You disappeared for 450,000 years, argued a Crevalian diplomat. We believed you were extinct. Did you search for us? Min Seo asked. Did you try to discover what happened, or did you just take what you wanted? The question hung in the air. The coalition ambassadors had no good answer. They had indeed simply taken Earth without much investigation into humanity's disappearance. Days of arguments followed. Both sides made points, conceded some things, demanded others. Slowly, a framework emerged. The Sol system would be returned to human control, with all alien structures removed or demolished. Humanity would join the Galactic Council, but with special autonomous status, not subject to normal military obligations. They would share defensive technology and early warning systems for extragalactic threats. But they would keep their most powerful weapons as deterrents, never to be used except in self-defense, not in exchange. Humanity would not seek revenge or territory beyond their original systems. They would allow aliens to live on human worlds if those aliens agreed to human law. They would help defend the galaxy from external threats. Was not a perfect agreement. Both sides had to compromise on things they cared about. But it was peace, and after so much war, peace was valuable. The signing ceremony took place on a station orbiting Earth. Leaders from across the galaxy attended, though many were terrified to be so close to humanity's homeworld. Admiral Daehyun signed for humanity, his hand steady despite the enormous weight of the moment. Thalrith signed for the coalition. As she wrote her name, she looked at Daehyun and saw not a monster, but a tired old soldier who just wanted to go home. I am sorry, she said quietly, for what we did to your world. I did not understand. Daehyun nodded. I am sorry too, for the fear we caused, for the lives we took. We fought for so long that we forgot how to be anything except warriors. The ceremony ended. The galaxy had a new order, one where humanity stood as both members and guardians. They were part of the galactic community, but also apart from it, changed by their long war into something unique. The agreement held. Alien settlers began leaving Earth, though some chose to stay and accept human authority. Human engineers started the long process of removing alien structures or repurposing them. The transformation would take years, But finally, Earth belonged to humanity again. But peace came with a cost. Not everyone could adjust to the end of fighting. Not everyone could let go of the war that had defined them for so long. And not everyone could forgive what had been done, either to humanity or by humanity. The real challenge was just beginning. Winning the war had been hard. Learning to live in peace would be harder still. 6 months after the peace treaty, Admiral De Hayan walked through the streets of Seoul. The city was being rebuilt, a mix of human and alien workers cooperating on the restoration. Ancient skyscrapers were being cleared of vegetation. Roads were being repaved where forests had grown. It was slow work, but it was happening around him. Humanity was returning home. Transport ships arrived daily, carrying people who had been born on the fleet, who had never seen Earth except in old recordings. They walked through the recovering cities with wonder in their eyes, touching trees and feeling natural rain for the first time in their lives. De Hayan stopped at what had once been a park. Now it was a construction site where engineers were installing new systems, while carefully preserving the old human monuments they found. He could remember this place from before the evacuation. He had walked here with friends who are now dead, lost in the war against the Devourers. "It looks different," said a voice beside him. Science Director Yoonji had joined him. She also remembered the old Earth from before everything changed. "Everything looks different," De Hayan replied. "We look different. We are different. Do you regret what we did?" Yoonji asked. "The weapons we built? The people we killed?" De Hayan considered the question carefully. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret that we had to become what we are. But I do not regret saving our species or protecting our home. We did what we had to do." Yoonji nodded. She led teams now working to share human technology with the Galactic Council, carefully selecting what could be shared safely. Defensive systems, early warning sensors, medical advances, but not the terrible weapons. Those remained human secrets, deterrents that hopefully would never be used again. In the medical section of the Eternal Vigil, which still orbited Earth as a command center, Dr. Tae Yang treated a steady stream of patients. Many were physical injuries from the reconstruction work, but more were psychological wounds that would never fully heal. "I cannot stop seeing them," a young soldier named Dong-woo told Tae Yang. "Every time I close my eyes, I see the enemy ships we erased. I wonder if they had families, if someone is missing them but cannot remember why." "The causality weapons affect us too," Tae Yang said gently. "Not physically, but emotionally. We remember what we erased, even though the universe does not. That memory is a burden we must carry." "Why?" Dong-woo asked. "Why did we use such terrible things?" "Because we were afraid," Tae Yang replied honestly. "Because we had fought for so long that we forgot there might be other ways. Because winning became more important than staying human." He prescribed therapy and rest, but Taeyang knew that some wounds ran too deep for medicine. Humanity had changed during the war. They had become harder, colder, more willing to do terrible things. Coming back to peace meant learning how to be human again, and not everyone could manage it. Captain Hyan Woo was one of those who could not adjust. He requested transfer to Deep Space Patrol, joining expeditions that searched for any remaining Devourer fragments or other extragalactic threats. He needed the structure of military life, the clarity of having an enemy to fight. "You do not have to run away," De Hayan told him before he left. "The war is over. You can rest now." "I do not know how to rest," Hyan Woo replied. "For 200 years I have fought. It is what I am. Let me do what I am good at. Let me protect us from the next threat." De Hayan approved the transfer. He understood. Some soldiers never stopped being soldiers. They had been shaped by war, and could not reshape themselves for peace. Others adapted better. Lieutenant Jae-hee joined the diplomatic corps, using her intelligence skills to help humans and aliens understand each other. Engineer Bio-ra led civilian projects, building infrastructure for the returning population. Commander Sung-min became a teacher, training the next generation in tactics and strategy while carefully avoiding the most dangerous techniques. Months became years. Earth slowly returned to life. Forests were managed, cities were rebuilt, and humans spread across their homeworld again. The population grew as children were born under natural skies for the first time in 450,000 years. But tensions remained. Some humans believed the aliens should be expelled completely from human space. Others argued that cooperation was necessary for survival. The debates were fierce and sometimes violent, but they were settled through discussion and voting, not weapons. The rest of the galaxy watched nervously. Humanity had taken its place on the Galactic Council, but they were different from other species. They spoke quietly in debates, but everyone remembered what they could do if pushed. They were the guardians now, the power that protected the galaxy from external threats, but also the sword hanging over everyone's heads. In the third year of peace, Science Director Yoon-ji made a discovery that changed everything. She had been researching galactic history, trying to understand what the galaxy had been like during humanity's absence. In the deep archives, she found something that made her blood run cold. She brought her findings to Admiral Daehyun immediately. "The Council knew," she said, her voice shaking with anger. 450,000 years ago, they detected the Devourer wave approaching. They knew it was coming. Daehyun read the ancient files. They were clear. The Galactic Council of that era had detected the extragalactic threat months before humanity did. They had debated warning Earth, but decided against it. The humans were primitive, they reasoned, and would probably flee rather than fight. Better to let the threat pass by, or let the humans deal with it alone if it stopped at Earth. When humanity vanished, the Council assumed they had run away like cowards. No one investigated deeply. No one tried to find out what really happened. "They let us face the Devourers alone," Yin-ji said. "They could have helped. We could have fought together. Instead, they hoped we would be the sacrifices that stopped the wave from reaching the rest of the galaxy." The revelation spread through the human fleet like fire. Anger built. People demanded revenge. Some called for using the dimensional cascade on the current Council's homeworlds, making them pay for the crimes of their ancestors. Admiral Daehyun called an emergency meeting of all senior command staff and government leaders. The debate was fierce. "They abandoned us to die," Captain Hyan-woo argued via communication link from his patrol ship. "They took our world while we saved theirs. They deserve to be punished." "Punishing them accomplishes nothing," countered diplomat Min Seo. "The people who made that decision are dead. The current council is not responsible for choices made 450,000 years ago. But the civilizations that benefited are still here," someone else argued. "They should pay for what they gained from our sacrifice." Daehyun listened to all sides. He felt the anger himself. Learning that the council had known and done nothing made him want to lash out, to make them feel the pain humanity had endured. But he was tired. So tired of fighting and killing and being angry. "We won," he said finally. "We survived when they thought we would die. We protected the galaxy when they would not. We reclaimed our home when they thought we were extinct. That is our victory. That is our revenge. Is it enough?" asked Yoon-ji. "It has to be," Daehyun replied. "Because if we seek more revenge, we become tyrants. We become the thing we fought against. The Devourers consumed everything they touched. If we let our anger consume us, we are no better." He decided to reveal the Council's betrayal publicly, but frame it as a lesson rather than a call for revenge. Diplomat Mean CO made the announcement to the Galactic Council directly. "We know what you did," she said calmly. "We know you abandoned us. But we will not seek retribution. We will not become destroyers in pursuit of justice. We offer you something better, a second chance." The council members were shocked. Some felt shame. Others denied responsibility. A few offered apologies. The galaxy debated the revelation for years. But humanity held to Daehyon's decision. They would not use their power for revenge. Instead, they focused on building. Human engineers helped alien worlds develop better defenses. Human scientists shared knowledge about extragalactic threats. Human diplomats worked to make the Council stronger and more prepared for future dangers. And slowly, very slowly, humanity began to change again. The hard warriors who had fought for 450,000 years started to soften. Not weakness, but maturity. They learned to balance their power with restraint, their fear with hope, their anger with forgiveness. 20 years after the return, Admiral Daehyon retired. He was ancient now, even with life extension technology. He had lived longer than any human before him, and he was tired. "We fought for 450,000 years to protect what we loved," he said. "We became something terrible to fight terrible things. We returned home to find ourselves forgotten and our world taken. We could have destroyed those who wronged us. Instead, we chose to build a future." He looked out at Earth, beautiful and alive, filled with humans and aliens learning to live together. "This is our victory. Not the battles we won or the enemies we destroyed. Our victory is that we survived, we returned, and we chose peace when we could have chosen war. We will never be helpless again. We will never be victims again. But we will also never be monsters. That is the promise we make to ourselves and to the galaxy." He stepped down, and younger leaders took his place. Leaders who had been born during the war, but who would define the peace.